Hi there everyone, my name's Elliot Clarkson in the marketing team here at Comma. Just before Christmas and New Year, I had the opportunity to sit down via Teams with our founders, Leigh Wells, our CEO, Sam Goss, our COO, and Mike Evans, our CTO, just to review 2020 and the challenges that Comma faced, as a lot of other people did and a lot of other companies did last year, and how we managed to overcome those and have one of our best years to date. We also look forward to 2021. Obviously, hasn't started the way a lot of people hoped it would, but it's having learned what we've learned last year, it's giving us the opportunity to go into this year feeling cautiously optimistic about the year ahead and the opportunities that we have and the opportunities in the data management space for everybody to get from it. So, without further ado, we'll get going with our conversation. I hope you enjoy it. I'm joined by Leigh, Mike and Sam, who are the founders of Comma. And today's session is just a quick overview of 2020, the year that's gone by, and looking forward to 2021 and how Comma's shaping up for next year. So Leigh, as CEO of the company, do you want to kick things off? How do you think 2020 is going for Comma this year?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one, Elliot. So, there's obviously, without going into too much of the specifics and external market factors and all of those things, in terms of how Comma's managed its way through this year, obviously going into February, March time, it was all panic stations. What did we do differently? We changed things like the board to meet weekly to assess the impact of, client decisions around, impact on COVID on their own businesses. We took decisions around our own businesses in terms of looking at, various aspects of that and looking at kind of 1, 3, 6 months ahead from there based on what the pipeline looked like at the time. It was a bit fraught, to be honest. It felt very uncomfortable. Obviously, no one had been through it before. We didn't know what the future held, etc. Having looked back on it now, 9 months later, to be quite honest, it's one of the best years we've had. It's forced a few decisions. It's made us focus on the right things in terms of efficiency, resource deployment, all of the good stuff around that. And we've been very lucky with the spread of industries we work across, in that some industries have been hugely affected, like hospitality, and we've got some obviously very clients around hospitality. But the others are things like, DIY sector. We're very strong in that sector. A lot of DIY happening at home. It's a very, they couldn't sell it quick enough. And essentially what they wanted to also do was take the time to sort their data out, effectively, their information and data management, to make them a stronger business. And we're seeing a lot more of that through this year, in that that's really the overall response to businesses that have traded through this year, that they can see the strategic importance of that and how it's going to help them move forward. So on the whole of a very positive year. It's been fairly uncomfortable along the way. It's been fairly, it's had its highs, it's had its lows, but looking back, I'd say it's one of a positive output for Comma this year, and it looks even stronger for next year, which is brilliant.
What have we missed this year? The socials, I'm guessing, is the main thing.
We did, mate. We did. We missed the socials, but we tried to do things slightly differently. I think the Brewdog calendar we did for the for Advent was brilliant. That and the gin and the chocolate that we did, that's driven a lot more engagement actually than I expected. And it's a nice present in itself, but also people have been talking about it daily and having a beer daily, etc. I'm not sure what we do when it comes to January. People are missing having a beer every day, but we can deal with that when we get to January. The socials obviously are one thing that we haven't done. That again is it's a brilliant opportunity to meet all of our consultants face to face that we don't get to see during the course of business, or that don't travel to the offices we work out of, etc. And then I'd extend that to visiting of partners that we work with, visiting of clients, etc. So that obviously has been impacted as well. We've clearly demonstrated we can all work remotely and meet with clients remotely. We've taken on new clients and won new logos this year remotely, and consultants as well, so whether they're contractors or permanent. So we've demonstrated ourselves that there's a lot of those good things that of course have been accelerating, we've had to do to be able to continue to trade. So that's the kind of roundup of this year, really.
All three of you have committed to doing a karaoke at the end of this call, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Only if you can handle our power ballads, though.
Deadly serious about that.
Sam, from your perspective, from an operations perspective, I've heard lots of people saying this year has made businesses speed up and do like 6 years worth of
kind of process development and things in a year, have you noticed a difference from a operations point of view in terms of processes and how we do things in the business?
Well, I think it's more, building on what Leigh said. I think the reason we've been so busy is because you think about I hate using the word digital transformation because it's so corny, but COVID has given the whole aspect of trading online just the biggest kick up the backside that you could imagine. And I think that's not just B2C businesses, but also B2B businesses. So where, you think about trade-based businesses where they do a lot of their engagement face-to-face, but all of a sudden that's been taken away. So they've had to find a way of engaging with their clients and their suppliers digitally. So the whole data agenda around that has just been accelerated massively. So it's not just about product data, but it's about understanding customer as well, because all of a sudden that channel of engaging with your customers digitally has just skyrocketed through the roof, and it's probably squeezed 5 years worth of change into a handful of months. So I think that's one of the key reasons why we've been so busy. But I think you think about change beyond that, but you've had very well established businesses that are very used to working face to face all of a sudden embracing digitally working. So, as Leigh said, we've won new clients remotely. We're delivering enormous projects completely remotely via Teams and other collaboration tools. So I think it's amazing what people can do to change the way that they work and adapt when the environment dictates it. So and like I said, I don't just think it's at a project level of what we do as a consultancy, but I think it's in a day-to-day level in terms of how people are going about their jobs and their business as well. So it's been a pretty big impact.
Mike, how have you found it from a obviously been with Comma 5 years now as one of the founders? How have you found this year as a kind of exceptional year of one of those guys?
Well, it's definitely been a roller coaster, and I guess echoing some of the things that Leigh and Sam have said, if you sort of wind back to that sort of March, April time, where I think it's fair to say, I think we probably all admit we didn't really know what was going to happen. It was unclear what decisions our clients and potential clients were going to make around whether they took projects forward or not. We saw some projects put on hold and other ones accelerated. But for I guess a period of about a month, it was really uncertain whether we were going to be bringing in any revenue at all at some stage. So we really had to adapt very quickly. I think there's lots of things about the way that we acted in that situation that I'm really proud of. In terms of the way that, and this is when I say we, I'm not necessarily talking about us as part of the board of Comma, but as Comma as a whole. We had to make some tough decisions about furlough and how that affected different individuals. But everyone took those decisions in the understanding of the fact that it was for the greater good and the ongoing prosperity of the company, and we really, no one made it difficult. Everyone played their part. People didn't resent each other for being on furlough or otherwise, which I know from speaking to other people that's been an issue in some companies. So I think that there's some really, really positive things that have come out of that. And then as Leigh sort of alluded to, what's actually happened, and Sam also, what's actually happened is a lot of our clients, potential clients, have kind of realised that the work that we do and that focus on making sure you've got high quality trusted data, whether that be about product or customer, that's become almost the number one priority. Not only is it increasingly important that organizations are able to trade digitally in perhaps situations where they didn't have to, or they could get away without kind of going fully online for a while in sort of pre-COVID world. They're also, I guess, struggling to find insight about the way people are thinking and interacting with businesses since COVID has hit, because the whole world's been thrown upside down, and all of a sudden, perhaps before the main thing that would drive me to buy with a company was what products do they sell? Are they good quality products? Now there's a whole added dimension, like how safe are they as an organisation? Are they looking after me when I'm there? And so the way that the organisations are having to react to customers' thought patterns and behaviours has really changed. And getting hold of that information, making sure that information is understood and they're able to draw insight from it is also really important.
Interesting. So I know, thank you, that's really good. Leigh, I know you said earlier, obviously, at the start of this year, there was uncertainty and it's ended up being, one of Commer's best years ever. What do you think's made that happen?
It's extending what Mike said, really. I think it's the pulling together of a team. So bear in mind, kind of Feb, we met, the leadership and the board meet monthly. And we review, obviously, retrospective performance, but we also look ahead in terms of, the sales forecast against budget looks like, etc. I think when the huge amount of uncertainty came around, we just, when we took the decision to meet a lot more frequently because things were changing daily at that point. I think it's that sense of, the pulling together. We're all in the same boat here. We all want it to be a success. And we set the business up 5 years ago now. One of the things we said was, whatever happens, we could all go back to consulting. So if there's a real downturn, we could do that, and that's the kind of, the kind of mentality that we've had in terms of running the business. It's one of those, we're all in it together. We can all do, what we need to do to make this a success. And so that's what we did. We grouped together. We made sure that, the current clients we had were looked after where possible. Obviously, some of them, some of our clients furloughed 99% of their staff. Some at those points, projects gone hold and you can't do anything. You can stay close to them, of course. And so, it was that. We deployed it, as Mike alluded to, we deployed a few of the, the government support schemes that were offered, which was great to see us through because we knew we had a good business. We know we've got a good business and we'll continue to have a good business. It's just, what you've got to do to get through these uncertain times, and then beyond that, I think it was all the stuff that people talk about doing, but I don't think do very well. And I think we actually got pretty spot on was things like regular communication with staff. So it's all right to sit in the boardroom talking about what we could do, scenario plan, etc. But also being really open with people in terms of what we're thinking, what things, what measures we're taking, regular comms and mixing that up. So sometimes it was email, sometimes it was an all hands call. So people had the opportunity to ask questions, etc. We, as most people know that know Comma, we're very collaborative in the way we work. We have Slack for company comms. We're always available to talk to people if they've got any questions. So keeping those lines of dialogue open and making sure people weren't felt left in the dark, and because of course they were all hearing good and bad news, obviously, and reading the press, etc. So what it meant for them and making sure we supported them in their journey was, I think, incredibly important. And I think that kind of hopefully sums up in what Mike said there was. That's I think why we've been able to trade successfully through this. And I think there's other little bits we could go into, but hopefully that answers the question.
It does. I think as someone who personally I went through furlough and redundancy myself, and having been a recent joiner to Comma, the level of communication is outstanding. Things like Slack and email and the all hands calls. I mean, before I even joined, I joined an all hands call with everybody on board the call and, introduced myself and just that level of communication, that kind of culture that you don't feel left on the periphery. You don't feel like you're kind of sitting there going, what's going on? What's happening? I think has been really important. But is there any kind of, Sam, I know you mentioned some collaboration tools other than Slack. Is there anything else you think that's helped get you through this year from a collaboration point of view?
Well, I mean, I think we've all lived on Microsoft Teams to the point that we've all got square eyes, to be honest. And I know that particularly Mike's been playing around with kind of online whiteboarding tools so that we can, effectively workshop, because clearly, you only need to talk to a handful of our consultants to know that they prefer to draw things rather than talk about it. And I actually think that's such an important part of what we do, because the things that we're talking about day to day are quite complex, and so the more that you can visualize them, clearly the better it is, particularly when in some cases you've not even met face to face the clients that you're working with. So having those sorts of tools available are great. But yeah, it's just it's the standard things, getting face to face. I think it's funny that I think back to pre-COVID, and I was always one of those people that hated doing video calls with people because it always felt awkward. But now I find that my psyche has shifted the complete opposite way, where I feel like if I'm talking to someone either via the phone or through my laptop and I can't see them, I now find that a bit strange. So I think it's been good to get face to face with people, despite the fact that you can't do it in person. So I think that's been great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, I think it's I think Teams and Zoom and stuff like this, from a marketing point of view, obviously we've shifted away from in-person events to doing a lot more kind of online like webinars. It's funny, we did a webinar the other day and someone said, "Oh, it's weird being in this capacity. Normally we'd be in person." And I was like, "The webinars have been around for longer than coaching." I thought it was quite funny. But, so is there anything any of you would have done differently this year, or anything that you think you've done that you would have changed what you've done?
I'll go with one if you want. So I think so. I'll start with something that we did well, and then why I think we probably need to kind of relook at it and change it. So when back in March, April, when we were sort of first hit by a few project cancellations and things, we had a lot of people who were working but unsure of what they were going to be doing because projects had slipped and moved, and all compounded by they're all separate from each other. No one's coming into an office and able to sort of catch them and say, I don't know what's going on. So we put in place lots of regular sort of Teams calls to just give people a touch point where we could no work agenda. We just all jump in the same Teams room and we can have a chat, and we can sometimes we do quizzes, sometimes it would just be just a bit of downtime between what people were doing, so there was that point of contact, and I thought that worked really well and helped. I think it's important to kind of put this in context of Comma's been a company that's always sort of prided ourselves on being immersed in client organizations and being around people, interacting with each other and going out socially, and all of that's sort of gone away. So we did a lot initially in terms of putting these sort of calls in the diary and making sure that those touch points were there. I think over time, and it's not necessarily because the forums were a bad idea or anything in the first place, but I think as the COVID rules have changed, people have been locked down for long periods of time, and they will have gone through different thought processes and different circumstances that the kind of and also I guess that how much busier we got in the later part of the year, that the ability to everyone to jump onto a call like that has kind of slipped away, and so the attendance to things like that really dropped. And so I think it's taken me a long time to say that, but I think we need to look more at how we can improve the level of interaction that we have as a wider team outside of the projects that we're all working on individually, and try and make sure that, because COVID's here to stay for at least for a little while longer, right? How we improve that communication across the Comma team, and we don't sort of lose that sense of camaraderie and of that one team feeling.
And I think just we did. I think one of the examples recently that we did that helped that was when we did a kind of online based escape room on one of our company updates, and that was actually great. And I think I agree with Mike. I feel like, because in the early days we were doing a daily quiz, and I think people just became quiz fatigued quite quickly. And I think we've been a bit guilty perhaps of not thinking hard enough about what we can do to maintain those regular social checkpoints.
What about the Pizza Pilgrim?
Pizza Pilgrim was good as well. I guess it's just recognising, as Mike said, that this situation is not going to change for a while, I don't think. And I think just being disciplined with ourselves to make sure we keep on top of doing things like that, because it is really important. And I think it's easy to just settle into a rhythm of not doing things like that. So we just got to make sure we keep on top of it, I think.
I think what it has forced as well, though, is I think obviously this was before I joined, but I know there were things like the Pizza Pilgrim, thing where everybody got together and made pizza online, and the Comma Arms, which is on a Friday afternoon at 4:00 when everybody gets together with a kind of a beer in hand, and everybody just kind of unwinds after a long week. But I think what that has also forced And I think obviously you're looking at it from a kind of company level. What that has also forced is, and we do it in the sales and marketing team, is every kind of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have 15 minutes, we call it coffee and catch up, where every morning at kind of 8:45, we all get together and have a chat. And it's not work based. It's not what are you doing today from a work point of view. It's just as you would in the office. It's that kind of pre-work or, during work, something pops up and everybody has a chat about it. So I think that does still exist. I think it's just, it's in pockets now rather than, like you say, that kind of quiz fatigue and stuff.
Yeah. And I think Slack is great for that as well. There's always inane nonsense being spoken about on Slack, which, lightens the mood. But it's, I'm equally conscious that we've now employed people that I've never met face to face, which, it must be hard coming into a new job when you've not met any of your colleagues. So it's just being conscious of that, I think.
I think something that you mentioned before, Sam, as well, around the sort of Teams fatigue and being glued to Teams all day or to Zoom or to whatever other platform that you're using. And that's probably another area that I think we've got an opportunity to look at, that, because people aren't traveling around, haven't got to move between rooms or between buildings or even between cities, meetings are back to back all day sometimes, people, and that you get there's a different level of fatigue by going straight from one sort of challenging conversation into another one, and to try and remain productive and sharp in all of those. So I think there's probably something that we can look at in terms of meeting culture and how we plan effective breaks in between meetings. And that we can try and be a little bit more try and put a few more guidelines in place to sort of help people get the downtime that they need.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
So looking forward into next year, I'll kind of wrap things up because I know we've been on for a while, but to wrap things up, looking forward to next year, is there anything you're really excited about next year, or anything you want to keep doing more of next year that we've already started doing this year?
From my side, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, we're entering the next calendar year with a really good momentum, probably the best that I can ever remember since Comma, which is great. And I think the exciting thing for me is that we've been growing our permanent team recently, so we're getting more and more permanent consultants on board. And I think anyone who's known our business for a while will know that we've predominantly always used contractors. Now, albeit we still have contractors around today that we've worked with for 5 years who are, still feel part of the furniture. But it's really exciting that we're building that base of permanent consultants, and we've made some great hires recently. And I'm just keen to keep working with the team. Basically, I think we've got a great bunch of people now, and I think we're really well set up to just achieve fantastic things over the next couple of years. So, yeah, the future looks bright for me. Good.
Anything anybody wants to add to that, Mike or Seth or Leigh?
I definitely agree. I'm looking forward to spending a bit of time with the team and actually seeing people face to face when we're allowed.
The first social, Elliot, is going to be fantastic. that comes around.
It's going to be, yeah.
I can't believe we've not had a social since the beginning of last year.
Where we doing it? York Brewery.
I think York Brewery sounds like a plan.
I don't think anywhere in the country is ready for the next conversation.
So definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being out of Tier 4 from a personal level, but there's also a lot of challenges that we perhaps still don't know the full shape and size of yet. There's Brexit coming up. We still don't know how COVID's going to pan out. But I think, in some ways, if there weren't those challenges to circumnavigate, life would just be boring, right? But yeah, it's as Sam says. I think there's huge opportunities for us next year, and I'm kind of excited to see what the future holds. Really.
Yeah. Excellent. And I just add to that, Elliot, at the end, I think it's great, and we're really well set up. This year's been brilliant to kind of prove that to ourselves, based on some of the previous reports we've had. The other things I'm excited about is the deepening kind of partnerships we've got with some of our strategic technology vendors. I think that's been brilliant, and our slight change of strategy in the last 12 months in how we do that. We've got some new tech vendors coming on board, which we're very excited to work with. Very promising technologies. emerging technology as well. So that's going to take us in a slightly different direction. For those that aren't aware, we've invested into R&D and innovation recently, and that sets to, I've only joined a couple of meetings on that, but that sets to be really promising in terms of some of the stuff we'll be evolving ourselves in terms of services next year as well. So from a kind of network perspective and the industry, it's all, I think we're really well placed, and talking to our partners as well, and the kind of senior leadership of the partners, they're all feeling the same, which is great in terms of pressing forward, and it's still being a growing industry and one we can all make a more of a success of.
Absolutely. I think it's safe to say, I think it's, at no point, I know this is kind of a cheesy thing to say, but I don't think data has ever been more important than it is at the moment in the way the world is at the moment. So it's a very exciting time.
Maybe you're more enthusiastic when you say that, given you're in marketing.
It's a very exciting time.
Very, very exciting time. Come on now.
Right, what are you singing? No, I'm kidding.
Defer to Mike, who is clearly the best singer out of all of us. So,
what's your favourite channel on Slack? Come on, let's get down to it.
Favourite channel on Slack?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, it has to be Tap and Advent at the moment, surely.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Although I've been quite active on Common Music, I think.
Yeah. I still enjoy the lookalikes.
Yeah, it's always lookalike.
I found this one yesterday. Absolutely priceless, isn't it? Again. So
thanks for that, mate. Very kind.
Right. Oh, no problem. I thought, did you not get the note? Oh.
For what it's worth, my favourite Slack channel is Employees, but it's just a shame Dan Mallins didn't have me on for 3 months after I started. Just like
We're very inclusive. I think we're very inclusive. Don't worry.
You got to get through your probation before you get into that one, mate.
Absolutely, fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm way through that now. Good stuff. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'll leave you to it, and you can go and sing in private. I won't ask you to do it in public.
Cool.
Thanks a lot,
guys.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. It was great to hear from Leigh, Sam and Mike on their thoughts from last year, and obviously looking forward to this year and what's ahead of us. If you have any questions about data management, at whatever stage journey you're on, our contact details will flash up after I disappear. But hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and speak to you all soon. Thank you.